Do you have the Ninja skills to do the recording?
I do.
There you go, you see. I knew that was going to be the answer.
To organise it, he's done.
Yes. Bear with me. Not even the start of the slides. Okay, can you all see those?
Yep.
Yep.
I won't put them in present, or I could put them in presenter mode. Hang on. There we go. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Frida Rashty, head of customer journeys, and you may have all read the email from Nick Harris last Thursday, I think it was, about the new directorate called Customer and Strategy. And that's all caught us on the hop a little bit, because in that email was mentioned that Pete Martin, whose division I currently sit in, is moving over to that new directorate. So bear that in mind when I'm presenting. So this presentation was written before that. I don't know anything about who's moving what and where yet, but obviously if standards are impacted, or I own current standards, they won't. If I move, they wouldn't be coming with me to customer and strategy. So Becky, something to consider for the future, maybe, but hopefully you'll all be on the ball and you won't need any support from us anyway. So really today is about introducing you or reminding you about our customer service strategy, the business's customer service strategy, and just focusing on how that might impact the standards and the work we do and the advice we give. Now, I am rushing off to the train station straight after this, so I'm going to whiz through these and happy to take a few questions. But I'm off to London shortly, in half an hour, so half an hour max. So next slide. So just a reminder, hopefully, that you will have seen, and if you haven't, I will show these slides, but if you haven't, you can go on the portal, look under customer, and there'll be all the links there for the customer service strategy, which was refreshed for the Rose Period 2. And the strapline is about making the difference. And you will have seen it pop up. We have a national customer service week, which is a countrywide thing, actually, run by the Institute of Customer Service, but we very much play our part in that. It's usually the first week or second week of October, so keep an eye out for that, because it's great actually to be involved in that. And you can probably see by my background that we're currently in Great British Green Clean Week. One of my areas of knowledge is around litter, and we're trying to generate a load of volunteers to go around picking. In fact, we've done really well this year. Loads of people around the business are going around picking litter in their environment around the offices. So if you fancy joining with that, it's not too late. Just email the litter inbox. Anyway, customer service is obviously one of our 3 imperatives. It's the second imperative. And I could have talked about what the definition of a customer is here. There's lots of different definitions, but again, on the portal, there is a bit of a description. Transport focus, say road users, well, that's too small a view from us, because we have customers in our communities, we have internal customers. There's lots of different types of customers. So it's really important that we bear that in mind when we are writing our standards and communicating. Even if you're doing customer correspondence, it's really important to consider what type of customer we are. And obviously, another one of my areas is freight, and so massive to supporting the economy. 80% of, no, it's not 80%, 70% of all freight uses our network, and I think we've seen through the pandemic how important it is that we've had those freight drivers on our network. And I think freight is stayed about the same in terms of number of vehicles, but light goods vehicles and white vans and that kind of stuff has massively increased. So I think that's all here to stay to some degree. So really important to consider that when we're thinking about who our customers are. And thinking about what we do and how we do it is really important. It applies as much to standards and requirements and guidance and advice as it does to anything else we do. So you may or may not be familiar with this, but this is the thing that pops up on any presentation to do with a customer. And basically, it's our themes. So there's no hierarchy as such, but there are. I would say that the bottom one, certainly the bottom two, are fundamental to achieving the rest. There's no way you could achieve the rest without having some level of competence in the bottom area. So it's a bit like Maslow, I guess. Maslow triangle, but in customer language. So each of those 6 areas that we call our themes, you don't have to read them now, but all of your work areas will feed into that. Some in several areas, but all of them will feed into what you do. I'm slightly distracted by the dog doing something you shouldn't, but won't go there. Okay, so next slide then is, and again, I am not expecting you to read this, but when you get a chance, if you get a chance, look at the slides, or indeed go straight into the customer service strategy and plans. Do have a look. We've definitely not captured everything here, but this gives a flavour, because Transport Focus are particularly interested in some of this, of how we interpret those themes into some of the things we do. And if you want to contribute in the future, or you say, well, you've missed a huge bit there, please do shout out, drop me a line, because we won't have captured everything, for sure. So moving on to requirements, which I wanted to focus on. I think this could be guidance, advice, as I say, it could be customer correspondence. The whole thing around customer, it applies to single thing we do. But just now, I just want to focus on how we write our requirements and why we should think about the customer when we write those requirements. Some of our requirements are very technical, and you might think that just doesn't apply, but I guarantee you, if you think hard about it, everything we do has an impact ultimately in terms of outcome on our customer. So sometimes no change is required, but sometimes there's an opportunity just to tweak something to make that outcome better. And it's just to have that thought in your mind as you're writing your standards. So what we've done, what Becky's done, is include within the impact assessment report a section on customer service. And we've based those questions, those challenges. I'll go to the next slide. Well, yeah, I'll come on to that in a minute. We'll base those questions around the 6 themes, and we don't just want yes and no answers. We want you to really think about that. So even if you've got a yes, we've thought about it, and yes, we've adapted our standard, we want the evidence. If you say no, we want to understand why that couldn't be the case. You might be following some real technical British standard or something else that means that you have to be really rigid about the requirements you're writing, and that's fair enough, but please do provide that level of information. Up until this point, we are looking at those impact assessments, and we're doing a bit of a quality check on them. So what I've got here today is just one of our standards. I appreciate it will be nothing like your standards. It's around almost an operational issue around temporary traffic orders, for those of you who know what they are. But it does give you a flavour of some of the things we might be looking for. So that's what I'm going to do now, just quickly whiz through those questions. You won't really have time to digest all this, but if you do wish to, you can always go back to this and challenge yourself as to, in the impact assessment, have you really thought about the customer? Have you really thought about the outcome and the impact on them? And is there really nothing you can do to make that better? Okay, so the first question is, as I say, it's around the triangle themes, is around empowering our users to deliver great experiences to our customers. So that's just a challenge to yourself. If you're writing standards, when we say our users, so that's supply chain, ourselves, anyone who uses our standards, does it help? So an example, as I say, throughout these, I haven't had time to use another more relevant standard to you, but I'm happy to look at that if you want to send me anything. And I think we fed into some of your standards anyway. So yes, so by doing this, taking this approach, this new standard around temporary traffic, regulation orders, we have meant that the regions will be able to plan better. The customer will benefit from the work not being delayed. There's just one TTRO, sorry for background noise, and it gives an opportunity to react in the regions to react faster. Okay, so question 2 is around relations with customers and communities. So on the right hand side there, you've got some challenges around the questions you should ask yourself. And again, greater accuracy in roadworks, that's one of our KPIs. Customer is obviously a KPI. It's the dog throwing bones around in the background, sorry. And then relationships with our adjacent authorities, really important for diversion routes and that kind of thing. So real benefit there. So there are 6 of these, as I say. So safety. So at the moment with TTROs, we've got a different approach in each region, and we want to bring consistency to that. It's just been signed off, this one, actually, I think. We want to bring consistency to that approach, so meeting our Section 58 defence and making maintenance repair quicker and more consistent, which will be safer. Oops, sorry, skip one. Information. Now, some of these won't apply to every single standard. We get that, but you need to clearly explain why not and provide evidence of why not. So information, absolutely, this one underpins information because it provides the customer with what we're doing and coordination of works. And, oops, keep skipping. Question 5. Better end-to-end experience. Again, the same sort of evidence will be here in terms of reliability around roadworks, local authorities, seamless approach. Customers don't care whether they're on our network or the local authority network, they just want one journey. So common practice nationally, consistency even within the regions and our regions, as well as local authorities. And then the last one is around journey times. And this one really fits into there around consultation and only having one TTRO per year rather than several taken in some of the other regions. Southwest was the lead in this area, for example, where they adopted best practice. So that is really the end of my presentation, frankly. Because I just wanted to really run through very quickly and really get you to really challenge yourselves on whether you can actually have an impact. And I believe everyone can. So that was it, Anthony. I was whizzing through a bit because I'm conscious of my time, but so apologies for that. And I will send the presentation round. So any questions, I guess?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. In terms of, hi, man. In terms of, it's a bit of a soapbox for me, really. And on the slides, we saw a lot of language referring to REDs, which are requirements. We have requirements. We don't have standards. We have requirements that are delivered in accordance to standards. And it's always been a term that can quite often lead to such a perception and expectation. But moreover, in terms from the customer, if I was thinking from the road user's perspective and the outcomes, what's their concept of what looks like from their feedback in order to help influence those outcome decisions for the REDs?
So that's a really good question, and I probably should have covered it in the slide a bit more. But currently we sit in SES, and the company has within Pete Martin's division, there's Deirdre O'Reilly's group, and she is a behavioural scientist and insight group, and in her team sit the insight team, and they can really assist with giving you feedback on whichever area that you are responsible for. So and that's not the only source of insight. So when you're developing a standard, the best way to do that is to gather the insight from what the company already has, or people at Transport Focus, they're our watchdog, they do tons of research for us. what things do they already have that you can use to influence what you're writing in terms of requirements. And if you don't know, just approach Deirdre O'Reilly's team, or indeed, God, name's gone, Andy in this team. Sorry, I'll forget. I'll circulate the contact names, but that's the way to do it. That you approach and discover what insight you've already got. There's usually absolutely no need to go and do your own insight. There's tons of information out there already, and you can use that then to influence your requirements.
Andy has a question, Frida.
I think Kelson was first, actually.
Oh, sorry.
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah, but thanks, Andy. Yes, Frida, thank you for the presentation. And yeah, it's kind of timely because I'm currently filling in impact assessment for development of a set of technical standards we have, and I came across those questions. Yeah, I find quite interesting. My question is slightly related to what Colin has asked in terms of those 6 questions were put together, whether there has been any sort of consultation with road user, which you just explained that there is existing data in the business. So yeah, I'm just interested to know how, if we had the road user input.
Yeah, so all I would say also is that currently, possibly not for long because of the imminent changes, I have some external support from WSP. Back in the day when we all, DMRB was changing, Anthony will know this, that when people were being assigned DMRB authors a few years ago, we were never assigned anyone because it was deemed that we didn't write requirements, when in fact we do. So we got WSP to support us on that. I still have that. So if you do need some help with understanding how you should fill in that impact assessment report, or consider the user voice, please do contact Darren Evans. He's the team leader who manages that project and that DMRB author. So we do have some specialist advice, certainly in the short term, where we can help you and point you in the right direction, if that's helpful at all. Yeah.
It's Darren internal or the WSP?
Yes, yeah. Darren is one of my team leaders. He's roadworks and occupancy, but he happens to manage the DMRB authorship tasks that I have ongoing with WSP. But they have quite a lot of experience and helped us put this approach together. Right, I'm not going to say it's perfect, and Becky will know that we're always looking to improve it. So, you know, we need a few people to go through that process before we consider, you know, if it's the right approach. Yeah.
And for everyone, there is 2 Darren Evanses in the directory, and it's the one that's Birmingham.
Okay. Good
point.
Cool. Hi, Frida. Thanks for that. Absolutely brilliant. I'd be a bit naughty. Can I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. It's going to let me. Hopefully you can see that.
It's not yet. Oh yes, yes. Oh,
I'm loving the dog in the background, by the way. I've got my 2 here. Very well behaved today, which is very strange. So we're just doing this impact assessment report at the moment, and as you can see, the first 3 questions have been answered by our contractor, AJJV, to be no's and non-applicable. Would you expect in there a reason, a justification why there isn't an impact? Yeah.
So
that's the first.
Just first of all, could I just check what the response column means? That means yes, no.
No. Okay. So we've got 3 work streams. Okay. And the first work stream is an internal work stream. The second is done by AJJV, and the third is done by WSP. And just to differentiate the responses, they've got X, Y, and Z against them.
Okay.
If I use numbers, it was going to be complicated. So once Kelson's done his, they will have X against them. And we've got the SVDs to go in there that'll have a Z against them. Don't worry about the Y.
Who is the Y?
The Y is our HAJV, and they're looking after some ERT and CCTV provision.
Okay.
But this is the
You
thing.
could-
If
Yeah.
the
You can sort of
question-
understand. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
No, it's a simple question. Do we need a justification there to say no? It's not. There's no customer service provision with this update. We can go back and get an input in.
So I would say yes. Yeah, I would say yes. But given they're external, I can sort of understand, certainly with the first two, why they might find that a little tricky. Do they really know all our stakeholders and customers and have that understanding? But you know, even a sentence helps. So I would give it a
go. Andy, we can rely on the answer provide as the general one, because we will consider the DD13 as a whole, as a single document. So customers are the same for the 3 work streams anyway. So
well,
the
we hope so, yeah. But it might be that CCTV and DRTs don't have the customer impact, but SVD does. So that's why we're differentiating.
Yeah.
What's it, out of interest? What's the standard?
This is TD131. It's roadside technology and communications.
So this is the one that's really close to me because of the requirements we're writing at the moment for visibility around signs, and the big debate about when your one was coming along. So the need to include CCTV and SVD from a customer perspective, because it's a customer service standard on visibility of signs. So you might want to have a look at that, look at the impact assessment report and cut and paste, frankly. There might be some opportunities to see what we've done.
I think that's where one of the complexities lies, though, in terms of the fact that citing is a separate RAD. So in terms of obscuration, obscurity, to be able to see and visualise the sign is all dependent on that, what's contained within that RAD. Whereas in this RAD is about what technology, in terms of, you know, quite often most of the technology the customer doesn't know is there. That's Midas Loops, for example. Or, you know, so there's a level of visibility and crossover, and it's, you know, being mindful of, as you say, what the outcomes of providing a service is not just reliant on one set of RADs.
No. Yeah, but so I totally agree, and we need to make sure we're aligned and no gaps and what have you. But what I would say is think about it from an outcome. It doesn't really matter whether the customer can see it or not, but from an outcome perspective, certainly having functioning CCTV and SVD.
If it's outcomes for management, it's different from a perception. You know, we can manage what we need, but in terms of how the customer would say, it's neither here nor there. You know, what we want to make sure is that feedback from the customers feel safe and secure, and that what information tactically or strategically they can see and understand.
Yeah. I think I sort of agree, but yeah, as long as we're considering the outcome and therefore the impact on the customer. But I think we're both right, frankly. But
yeah. That's what makes it protracted sometimes.
Yes. But you get the right result in the end. Yeah. Hopefully. Go on, Andy.
Thanks, Rita. See the responses to question 4 and 5 on the screen. Just reading through very briefly those 2 responses. Do you think they're sufficient for the IAR needs? So I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. As it happens, I'm vaguely familiar because of the other work we're doing. Yeah, I'd go back to the outcome of why we have it, though. It's okay. It's the minimum you would write, I would say. I would normally write. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Number 4 is okay. That's okay. Better under experience. Okay, yeah, I think they're broadly okay.
Thank you. Great. Yeah,
Well done.
we want to make sure that we're going in the right direction
Yeah.
for you when you come to review it at TFC level. Obviously, you know, that's the main issue, really.
I think it's all I would say is that put me on the spot. I can't think of what else you'd write, but I would say that was the minimum that you would write. Yes.
Thank you. And we will firm up the rest of the document. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Okay,
You're welcome.
Andy, did you have any other questions? If not, I'll jump in with the last one before we let Frida go, if that's okay.
No, you please carry on.
I was only going to say, Frida, that I think that something that you said close to the beginning of this is a good starting point for us to work from. In that, if you think hard enough about all of this, you will actually find out that pretty much everything that we do has an impact on our customer in one way or another. And I wonder whether our approach to this part of the impact assessment should by default be a yes, and we work backwards from that.
I really like that approach, Anthony. Yeah. Yeah. You would expect me to say that, but my background isn't customer service. My background is technical.
Yeah.
So it's important to. I'm converted, shall we say?
Yeah.
So everything we do as a civil engineer, everything you do is for the environment, people, and they're your customers. So actually, it's not a big shift, I don't think, for people once they can see that connection. Why are we here? Why is National Highways here? Yeah, it is. And why is National Highways here? Well, you can go back to connecting the country, even though it's slightly out of date now, and it's all about people and economy and that kind of thing. So they're our customers. So
my only concern about that is that we don't lose the point though of what is reasonably practical and practically foreseeable. I mean, I've worked in retail for 15 years. In terms of what the customer would expect, it's varied so much, but in order to please one customer, you'll upset another, so you've got to have that balance.
Couldn't agree more. I absolutely couldn't agree more. Yeah, we can only do within the remit of our license, our corporate documents, our safety requirements, what we can do. So yes, it's just about doing your best and considering the customer. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Colin. Yes.
My very final point, Frida, and we will let you go then, sorry, is in the RAD template, you've got 3 options of yes, no, and uncertain. And I wonder whether the uncertain is a bit of a get out of jail clause for some folk, and whether that would be better replaced with neutral, so that we don't end up double counting some of these customer benefits. So for example, they very well may be situations where the clause has been updated, but there isn't actually any change in the impact on the customer because we've already accounted for that benefit when we created the clause when it was first introduced. So providing variable message signs has a positive impact on a customer. Updating that clause, but the provision of them remains the same, is neutral.
Sorry, I'm really sorry about the dog. I really like that, Anthony. I'm going to take that one away and write it down. We'll have a look at that. Yeah, I'll feed that back.
Cool. Frida, conscious that you've got to get a train, we're going to let you go and really, really appreciate you finding the time to come and talk to us. So thank you ever so much.
Totally. Thank you ever so much.
Wherever I end up, I'm always happy to comment. So yeah.
Well, my view is that I hope that you end up in SES so that you don't go anywhere.
Just going to go lock the dog in his cage. Okay.
Thanks, Frida.
Good to speak to you all. Take care.
If you could share the presentation, that would be great.
Have a safe journey.
Thanks, Frida.
Thank you.
Bye now.